It's always hilarious to me when a company like Disney barrels forward with plans that fans have clearly rejected, and that is exactly what is happening with Snow White. They wanted to modernize this new adaptation, they wanted to change the story around, they wanted to hire a lead actress who is an activist, and none of that has worked out for them. And now we're finding out that Snow White is expected to have a 60 to 65% decline in the second weekend at the box office, and so far on Saturday, it's dropped by 77%. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, something like a Snow White live action adaptation should have been a sweeping success for Disney, but they changed up the formula, they modernized, they didn't give her a good looking dress or haircut, they didn't pick an actress who has a very similar, very light and airy and whimsical voice. They picked an actress who took to social media to boast about how they changed the romance and how the prince was a stalker before and they weren't going in that direction, and how Snow White is now a strong, independent woman who just wants to be the leader of her kingdom. Like, none of these plans were ever going to lead to success for them, but in theory, Snow White should have been a big win, though now we're seeing that it is expected to have a massive decline and is pacing for a total loss of upwards of $250 million. It says Disney's Snow White is expected to have a 60 to 65% decline at the box office in its second weekend. Good. I am not going to shed a tear for Rachel Zegler, not even for Gal Gadot. I'm not going to shed a tear for Disney. It is what it is, and you get what you deserve. I am especially furious about this, and I always am when it comes to the live action adaptations, because I grew up watching these movies and loving them. I loved Snow White, I loved Cinderella, I loved Beauty and the Beast, I loved Mulan, and even Ariel with The Little Mermaid. And we've seen so many of these adaptations be total flops. Mulan, Little Mermaid, now Snow White, they're just not good films, and it is sad to see this happen. It says Box Office Reports predicts the film will gross just 15.4 million this weekend, which is a decline of 63.7% from the opening weekend gross of 42.2 million. Now, what I think is very interesting about this is if we head on over to the numbers, Snow White's already getting crushed now. Keep in mind, it is a Saturday. It is 2 p.m., so it's not like the day is done. But so far, Snow White has dropped 77% and is at $3.7 million. But what is hilarious is that A Working Man, the latest Jason Statham movie, is at number one with 5.6 million. This is a vast difference. It's not like, oh, they're off by, I don't know, $100,000 or $200,000. But to see a 77% drop already is crazy. It will be interesting to see, of course, what happens over the weekend, how this progresses, but I just would never imagine a Jason Statham movie to do significantly better than Snow White, which clearly has like hundreds of millions of dollars behind it, especially in marketing. So I thought that was very interesting. But it says the box office analyst Sean Robbins at Box Office Theory shared his prediction that the film will only gross about 17 million this weekend, down 60% from its first weekend domestic gross. Given this 17 million prediction for the film's second weekend, he predicts the film should have a total domestic gross of 69.6 million, and the film currently has a domestic gross of 50.8 million. Yeah, I don't necessarily think that it's going to skyrocket up, and I don't think that this is going to be a movie that, as the weeks go on, it holds steady, because sometimes we do see the first to second weekend drop is pretty drastic, but then that number kind of holds for several weeks. I just do not see that happening at this point in time. And what's even worse for Disney is OMB Reviews also provided a new update on where he sees Snow White's losses coming in, at saying the film is likely to lose between $250 to $350 million. We do not know what the marketing budget for this movie is, but the development budget, from what we understand, is about $250 million. It could be as high as $350 million because we do know that there were several delays with reshoots, extensive reshoots, they called them. So that number could be extremely high, but they clearly needed this movie to make $1 billion. That is what they were aiming for. That's what they were hoping for. And it's not even going to get close. And it's not like this is a well reviewed film either, because sometimes movies just don't do so well in the theaters, and then reviews are really high for them, and then they go to digital and we see them blow up. That's clearly not going to happen here either. The all critic is currently sitting at a 41%, and the all audience is currently sitting at a measly 19%. So we're not talking about it doing crazy good numbers. I mean, these scores are even lower than Mulan's adaptation, which was an atrocity. That movie was the worst adaptation that I've seen thus far, and Snow White's pretty close. I have to be fair. This Snow White is a really terrible movie. I did not really like any of the performances. None of the visuals were stunning or what I would expect out of a Disney film. The new songs, I believe there's 6 new songs, just did not work. A funny fact, if you didn't know this, the movie Wish that had previously came out, yeah, 3 of those songs were actually recycled that didn't make it to the final cut of that movie. So it's not like they even came up with any original good music that people actually liked, because they knew they weren't going to like it in Wish, so they just had to recycle it for this film. And the 7 dwarves that they went with being CGI was just terrible. I didn't like this movie all around. Disney thought, you know what, this is gonna work out, and it's completely failed for them, and I love to see it. So, heading on over to the all audience reviews just to take a quick peek at them. Absolute trash. Please don't waste your money. It's as bad as you think. When I walk into the place is clean and everybody help us and the movie was fantastic, I will recommend anybody to go see it. This seems like a bot review, at least in my opinion. This is a verified, though. I personally don't trust the verified audience. Maybe you do. The verified is sitting at a 74%. That means that people have verified via a ticket that they have gone to see it, that they have paid to go and see it. I have never really trusted this because the site itself can cherry pick which tickets are actually kind of validated and which ones are not. So I've never really trusted it. It is important to point out, though, that technically via the verified, it's still doing good. Not as good as some of the other adaptations, though. Did anybody really want this movie to happen? Unwatchable. No wonder the theater was empty. A lifeless remake that drains the magic from a beloved classic. With bland performances, forced messaging, and uninspired storytelling, it feels like a corporate checkbox than a heartfelt film. Disney should have left this one in the vault. Disney used to be fun and intelligent. Now it's so boring and predictable and trying way too hard to be modern and politically correct in all the wrong ways. What a huge disappointment. Horrible, B-rate and low budget looking. Wow, it was just literally the worst movie I've ever seen. Not one single redeeming quality. My 8-year-old told me it was so boring she would rather have waited until it was out on TV. I feel like this is also a general sentiment people have as well, is that it's not worth it to pay to go see something in theater, because also, not only are you paying quite a hefty price, but if you're bored of it, you can just shut it off when you are at home, which is definitely good. And I probably would have shut this off approximately 10 times if I watched it at home, which I definitely did not do because it is not out on the TVs. It's not out for us to watch at home yet. So, guys, it is what it is. I can't say that I feel all that bad for what's going on over at Disney. Snow White apparently now is expected to have a 60 to 65% decline in its second weekend at the box office. So far, according to the numbers, it is getting crushed by a working man, and this movie could end up losing between 250 and 350 million dollars. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.